Lyra Whitmore had always been invisible in plain sight. As the city's lead forensic auditor, she spent her days buried in financial records, tracking discrepancies that others missed. Her small office in the basement of City Hall was a sanctuary of organized chaos. Spreadsheets pinned to walls, calculators scattered across her desk, and towers of case F. Aisles that told stories of greed and deception. The trouble began when she noticed irregularities in the police department's budget. Overtime payments that didn't match shift schedules. Equipment purchases from vendors that barely existed. Conference expenses in locations where no conferences were held. The patterns were subtle, but to Lyra's trained eye, they screamed fraud. She brought her concerns to Detective Marcus Kane, the department's golden boy who'd been featured on magazine covers and morning shows. Kane was everything Lyra wasn't: charismatic, media-savvy, and arrogantly confident. When she presented her findings, he barely glanced at the meticulously prepared reports. "You're just a numbers girl who couldn't catch a real criminal if your life depended on it," he had said, his voice dripping with condescension. "Stick to your spreadsheets and leave the real detective work to us." The other detectives laughed. Captain Rodriguez, who should have taken her concerns seriously, simply nodded along with Kane's dismissal. "Lyra, I appreciate your thoroughness, but Marcus is right. We handle the real crimes here." But Lyra didn't give up. She never did. While Kane was busy posing for cameras and giving interviews about his latest high-profile arrest, she was working 18-hour days, following digital breadcrumbs through a labyrinth of financial records. She discovered that the fraud wasn't just about padding overtime or fake vendors. It was a sophisticated, money laundering operation that had been running for 3 years. The scheme involved Kane and 6 other officers, including Captain Rodriguez. They were skimming money from drug busts, selling confiscated evidence, and using fake training seminars to funnel cash to personal accounts. The operation was so clever that it had gone undetected by every audit except Lyra's. As she built her case, Lyra realized she couldn't trust anyone in the department. So she reached out to the FBI's Financial Crimes Division, specifically Agent Sarah Chen, whom she'd worked with on federal cases. Agent Chen immediately recognized the significance of Lyra's findings. "This is bigger than just corruption," Agent Chen told her during one of their secret meetings. "This connects to a multi-state operation we've been tracking. Your evidence could be the key to bringing down the entire network." Lyra spent the next 3 months working as a double agent of sorts. By day she continued her regular audit work, saying nothing about her investigation. By night, she worked with the FBI, providing them with evidence that would ensure every perpetrator faced federal charges. The most satisfying part was watching Kane continue to underestimate her. He would swagger past her office, occasionally making snide comments about bean counters and desk jockeys. He had no idea that every financial transaction, every fraudulent overtime claim, every fake vendor payment was being meticulously documented and traced back to him. Lyra's transformation during this period was remarkable. The timid auditor who had once been intimidated by Kane's dismissive attitude became a woman on a mission. She learned to read body language to spot tells when people were lying about financial matters. She'd developed sources within the department, honest officers who had always suspected something was wrong but didn't know how to prove it. The breakthrough came when Lyra discovered that Kane had been using his position to tip off drug dealers about upcoming raids, allowing them to move their operations while he seized smaller amounts to make his arrest numbers look good. The real money was in the protection racket he was running. On a Tuesday morning in March, the FBI raided the police department. Kane was in the middle of a press conference about community policing when federal agents walked in with arrest warrants. The look of shock on his face when he saw Lyra standing behind Agent Chen was priceless. "Marcus Kane, you're under arrest for money laundering, fraud, and racketeering, Agent," Chen announced as cameras rolled. The investigation was led by forensic auditor Lyra Whitmore, whose financial analysis uncovered your entire operation. Kane's face went white. "That's impossible. She's just a forensic auditor who's about to testify before a grand jury about your 3-year crime spree," Agent Chen finished. "Turns out those spreadsheets you mocked contained enough evidence to put you away for 20 years. The media explosion was immediate. Kane, who had built his career on publicity, found himself on the front page of every newspaper and the lead story on every news broadcast. But this time he wasn't the hero, he was the villain brought down by the numbers girl he dismissed. The investigation revealed that Kane and his accomplices had stolen over $2.3 million from the department and the city. They had compromised dozens of cases, allowed dangerous criminals to escape justice, and corrupted the very institution they'd sworn to protect. During the trial, Lyra took the stand and methodically explained how she'd unraveled the scheme. Her testimony was devastating, backed by hundreds of pages of financial evidence that painted a clear picture of systematic corruption. Cain's lawyer tried to discredit her, but her preparation was flawless. "Ms. Whitmore," the prosecutor asked, "what will you say to those who claimed you were just a numbers girl?" Lara looked directly at Cain, who was sitting at the defendant's table, his career and reputation in ruins. "I'd say that numbers don't lie," detected Cain, "and neither do I." Cain was sentenced to 22 years in federal prison. Captain Rodriguez received 15 years. The other officers involved received sentences ranging from 5 to 12 years. The scandal led to a complete overhaul of the department's financial oversight procedures, with Lara appointed as the new director of financial integrity. The transformation was complete. The timid auditor who had once been dismissed and mocked was now one of the most respected forensic investigators in the country. She received job offers from major corporations and federal agencies, but she chose to stay in the city she'd helped clean up. Cain's final humiliation came when he was transferred to a federal prison where several of the drug dealers he'd taken bribes from were also serving time. The man who had once been untouchable learned what it meant to be truly powerless. Lara kept a framed newspaper clipping on her office wall. The headline read, "Numbers Girl Brings Down Corrupt Cop Ring." It served as a reminder that underestimating someone, because of their quiet demeanor or unglamorous job, was the fastest way to destruction. The best revenge, she learned, wasn't emotional or vindictive. It was methodical, thorough, and absolutely devastating, just like a perfectly executed audit.